Welcome to the Igniting the CEO Within podcast, where we interview successful high-level professionals to discover lessons they've learned throughout their career that can help ignite the CEO within you. I'm Mark McFatridge, and I'll be your host for the next 15 minutes or so. Our show is sponsored by Quaid, a nationwide community of CEOs and entrepreneurs. Quaid has developed Launchpad, which offers an opportunity for executive coaches and consultants to become licensed circle directors and earn annual recurring six-figure revenues. After completing the Launchpad program, you'll lead your own peer advisory circles, helping other CEOs, entrepreneurs, and leaders excel in their professional and personal lives while providing a community of support, accountability, and challenge. If you'd like to learn more, go to quaidcircle.com. I am really excited for our show today. We've got Dr. Carole Garth from Kansas City, Missouri. She's had an amazing career in the education fields, doing some consulting work now, but really excited to have you on the show, Dr. Garth. Welcome.
Thank you.
Carole, again, you've had just an amazing career, and you've got to see leaders of all caliber. You've seen some really good ones and some really bad ones. If you were to take a look and think back, what traits separate really, really good leaders from really, really bad leaders?
Yeah. And let me provide a little context to my career too, is I've actually had 32 years. Part of that being half of that, like literally half of my career has been under leadership, and then the other half being the leader.
Uh-huh.
And I think more importantly, what in my experience has separated a good leader from a bad leader is complete unawareness of why they're in that field.
Hmm.
And in my profession, in education, people tend to, and I don't think I'm generalizing too much, but I know that I landed in administration because I knew what it felt like um, to not have a good leader. And I felt like I could do better.
Uh-huh.
Well, there's your first problem because that's pride. So pride will get you every time
Uh-huh.
if you're not incredibly aware of it. And I have somewhat tongue in cheek always said there are two kinds of leaders, those that want the power and those that really care about the organization, about the people they work with, about the purpose of their organization. Now, that's kind of tongue in cheek, but it's been pretty true
Yeah. Yeah,
for
no
my
doubt.
years of experience is you're a natural born leader. That's great. I,
Mm-hmm.
I am too. Um, but why do you want to be a leader in this setting? And I always come back to, and a lot of people have helped me with this diagnosis too. The poorest leaders are the ones who have absolutely or very few or don't value soft skills.
Mm-hmm.
And by soft skills, I mean people person, communication, um, genuine sincerity, ethics. Like they they don't aspire to those. What they aspire to is um, knowledge, those hard skills.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to do this, so just listen. They command respect rather than earn respect.
Mm-hmm.
So truly, because I've had a lot of time to think about this, I've had my own failures where I'm just a very reflective person and I had to stop and go, if this many people are upset, you did something wrong. It's just like if you flunk a class, it's probably not the professor's fault.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You did something wrong. But if the whole class failed, then a professor has to look at their practices. So to me, that's the biggest difference is, and you don't have to be skilled at both.
Right.
You don't have to have super, oh, they're so good at interpersonal skills, but man, they really know the task. You can develop those things.
Mm-hmm.
They're both things you develop. The weakest leaders are one or the other, not both.
Mm-hmm.
And see, I kind of focused on the hard skill set, the people that just value the hard skill set, but
Yeah.
I've made the mistake of just valuing the soft skill set too much, and you're
Yeah.
just too
I like that.
friendly, and then
Well,
you're j oh, and you communicate great, but if you need to correct somebody, you kinda can't because you became friends with so
yep.
I hope that makes sense. I hope that's clarity for your listeners.
It is. No, I think that's a really great place to start because, and I'm going to go back to what you originally said too of why are you in that role, right? So,
Mhm.
I think a part, certainly Simon Sinek stands out with know your why and all that, but
Yes.
I think the other component of that is having a high degree of self awareness.
Yes.
And as you know, that evolves over time. If we're doing things the right way, you as a human evolve over time, and who you are and what you enjoy and what you're good at and what you're passionate about and all those kinds of things continue to evolve. And so I don't know if you have some examples of seeing people that continue to grow, and how important experiences are in their development of
Mhm.
themselves and all that kind of stuff. But to me, I think it all starts with that self-awareness piece.
Well, I am an example of that. Like, I'm retired, I have a grown son and a daughter-in-law and 2 grandchildren, and I'm still evolving.
Hmm.
I'm still sitting back and going, "Is that what really gets me up in the morning?"
Hmm.
Because if you can't answer that question, "Why am I getting out of bed?" then you're probably in the wrong field, or you need to adjust your thinking. You need to reflect. Why am I not enjoying this? Well, I loved what I did. I had a purpose to get out of bed every day, but it was soft skills. It was
Hmm.
soft skills. And sometimes to I'm just very interpersonal. I'm empathetic to a
Hmm.
fault. Like, I
Hmm.
feel other people's pain too much. But I had to keep those other things that I was really good at, like policy and data analytics. I couldn't neglect those things. And even now, at my stage in life, I'm still like reflecting and thinking about experiences I've had and changing,
Hmm.
changing. And I don't want to be ageist, but we tend to like put a lot of priority in that, what I call the splash in the pan. The one that comes in and they're so excited and oh, they just graduated and oh, that man, they have a long journey ahead of self realization.
Hmm.
So while their energy and charisma is so appealing to the corporate world and every other working world, um, that's not always the best route. I've learned now, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. What's interesting and funny how our paths always tend to align. But my aunt was a gifted and talented teacher in for
mhm,
elementary schools back in the day, and when our now 30-year-old son was born, she said, "Mark, life is about experiences, and the more
yeah,
things you can expose your kids to, the better." And we took that to heart, and would travel and expose them to different things and all that kind of stuff.
mhm,
But it's also it's for everybody. That's not just a kid thing, right? That is
yes,
the more that you put yourself out there, the more that you explore, the more curious you are,
mhm,
the more you're going to grow and evolve differently. You
mhm,
grew up in a small town, I grew up in a small town,
mhm,
and if I would have just stayed in that small town and never traveled and never did anything, I'd have been happy,
yeah.
but I would have been this really similar person to who I was when I was 18, and that is not the case today,
Yeah,
40 years
you are
after
you
that.
are spot on
Yeah.
with that, and even after, growing up in a small town, my husband and I lived briefly in another small town, just a little place just outside of the Kansas City area, and, I know for a fact that that would have been me. Like, I was very comfortable, we knew
Mhm.
everybody, But things happen that prod and push you out of your comfort zone. My husband is a city kid, like, and so we've been good for each other in that. But I know people in that small town that do things I've never thought of. So that is that self-realization, that
Mhm.
pushing yourself. I mean, I'm embarrassed to admit I hated flying. I hated flying. I was terrified of flying. It's only been in the last 5, 6 years that I was like, "This is stupid." Like, if you want to experience life, stop driving 15 hours, you know?
Yeah.
But that's just a silly example of even now at my age in my place in life where I'm still reaching for the things I've always wanted, but I have a lot of experience tucked under that. I'm going, set aside the fear.
Mhm.
Like, set aside the fear because I think it can be really crippling right now because corporations tend to be very black and white now
Yeah.
to protect themselves. And so getting in the mess and doing what's right ethically can even go against policy,
Hmm.
um, and call you into, correction and things like that. So, but just now, finally stepping away and going, gosh, when that happened, why didn't I just put my foot down and say, this is wrong? It's
Yeah.
because I was just still on my journey.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's right. That's right. And again, I think, you use journey, I use evolution. It's
Uh-huh.
all those things of continue to get exposure to things don't know. And I was thinking back to your earlier example of, I'm going to use the word kids that are coming out of school that are fired up and all that kind of stuff. And that's great. And you want that enthusiasm, but people like you and me are kind of like, this is cool. Don't lose that enthusiasm, but you also need to cool your jets a little bit because you don't know anything.
Right.
Or that's not fair. You
Right.
don't know as much. You don't know as much as you're going to know if
Well,
you take the time to back off
yeah,
and
it goes
listen and
back to that
listen.
pride piece.
Mm,
And I used to tell I've mentored a lot of aspiring teachers, student teachers, aspiring principals, and I would always say, who were they're excited, like it's a lot of hard work
hmm
to get that degree, to get that certificate, to be able to lead a whole building, a whole organization. It's a lot of work. And you feel good. You got a 4.0, whatever. You can conquer the world, but you can't conquer the person that's been doing this for 32 years, and you don't need to.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come all the way back to that pride piece.
Yeah.
So we let our excitement and our passion get in the way of what I call a temperate, steady
hmm
focus um, that hears others. And I want to encourage those. I know some of those kids
hmm
that are coming out with their degrees now, and they're so excited, and they might be thinking, "Well, I'm going to be a failure because I'm young." No,
Nope.
no, you have soft skills. Be sure you manage the hard ones. Or maybe
Yeah.
you have the hard ones and you know the data, you know the analytics, you know the platforms, you know the technology, you know how to break it apart and put it back together, but you don't know how to talk to your colleague.
hmm
So, the best aspiring leaders, I know I am, are constantly aware to keep both of those strong because we generally have a tendency toward one or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think, one of the things, and you started to touch on it, one of my favorite quotes, I guess, is listen to understand, not to respond.
Yes.
And that when it took me a long time to figure that out. That's not just applicable in business, that's applicable in life, right? And the
Yes.
more that I would bite my tongue instead of responding, and I really started to listen to people and understand what they were saying, what they were not saying,
Yeah.
That helped me grow tremendously. And I think that's some really good advice for these young leaders that are coming out into the world now is you've got a tremendous
Uh-huh.
education. Get some more education just by listening to the people that are around you and
Yes.
understanding what they're doing.
Well, I think we've gone on a bad journey of valuing education too much. In one of my initial roles, I was overlooked twice, like not even interviewed,
Hmm.
for a couple of jobs I was looking for within my organization.
Hmm.
And I finally wrote a letter to, you know, my supervisors and just said, listen, I know this is one of your, requested requirements that I didn't have at the time, more education,
Hmm.
but I need you to know these are my life experiences. And I talked about, I can't get that degree right now. We're paying for our son to finish his.
Right, right, right.
Um, I was a parent in college. Like, I have these experiences, and I got the very next job opening. In
Huh.
fact, I didn't even interview. They just came and said, "We're gonna put you in this role. You'll be interim for 6 months. We're not gonna open it up." So yeah, don't forget to advocate for your experiences, and I think that's coming back around. I think organizations are starting to look for it, not just
Mhm.
for that education, but what is your experience? And I think
Yeah.
that's valuable. But you said what was your quote that you mentioned? Oh, I remember now. Going along with that, the best thing you can do as a leader too is assume positive intent.
Mm, I
So
love that.
every time I would get up from a seat and and that emotion would take over, I would instantly say, "Now why would they do that? Now
Yeah.
stop and think for a minute."
Yep.
And then that comes to your listening
Yep.
and hearing before you let an emotion take over.
Wow. Yeah, that is so good. Carolee, thank you so much for
You
joining
bet.
us. This has been a blast.
Yeah.
I think we could go for another 45, 50, maybe an hour.
Well, I know I could, but
Well, I'm really thankful that our paths have crossed and appreciate all the nuggets that you shared with our listeners. So thank you very much.
you bet.
All right. We've done it again. We found another amazing leader that's able to share some additional insights that you can put in your toolbox and utilize as we go along. Wanted to remind you that Igniting the CEO Within is sponsored by Quaid, a nationwide community of CEOs and entrepreneurs. Quaid has created Launchpad, which provides an exciting opportunity for executive coaches and consultants to become licensed circle directors and earn annual recurring six-figure revenues while helping CEOs, entrepreneurs, and other leaders excel in their professional and personal lives while providing a community of support, accountability, and challenge. To find out more, visit quaidcircle.com. Until next time, keep igniting that CEO within you. I'm Mark McFatridge. Thanks for listening.